make sure that you have good, clean drinking water available. Most of the time, we turn on the tap and out comes safe water. Most of the time. It might not necessarily smell good or taste good, but it's come through the municipal water purification process, and so it's deemed safe to drink, which means you won't get bacteria or chemicals or anything like that that are harmful. There are times, however, when the municipal water supply gets contaminated and residents are told you now have to boil your water, which means the traditional sources of water, even where you live, are no longer safe. What's your strategy for dealing with that? You're on a road trip. Do you have access to adequate amounts of safe drinking water to last you for the entire trip? Especially if some emergency happens and you get stuck on the side of the road for hours. In some cases, it can be days. Many people have bags, large and small, like this, that have a tube that you can suck from, and you fill up your bladder ahead of time with the water that you think you're going to need. These things run in 1 liter, 2 liter, and sometimes 3 liter bladders. The more water, the heavier the bag. We've seen these everywhere. There are other larger bags that not only have space for a bladder, but side pockets for additional water bottle carriage. This particular bladder in here is a 3 liter bottle. This is my first aid kind of bug out bag, but this is in the car most of the time. But it is an auxiliary source of water. The bladder in here is always full, and depending on what I'm doing, I will add 1 or 2 of these bottles on the outside, especially if I'm taking a dog for a hike too. Having bags like those allow you to carry your water supply with you while you're on the go. Depending on how far you're going and what the temperature is, the hotter it is, the more water you need to drink. About 1 liter per hour if it's around 90-ish or above, and the older you are, the more water you need to drink anyway. But at some point, depending on how far you're going to be going and how long you're going to be away from your main source of water, you're going to have to resupply or replenish that water or get water from some other source. It's also possible that something happens and you puncture your bladder and you can't store the water. So now what do? Word of caution: if you happen to be in a desert location or a high desert location and there's no water that you can determine that's close to you, and you don't have survival skills and the weather conditions aren't correct to go into survival water reclamation mode, you're pretty much screwed. Which is why water management should always be top of mind when you're not close to a water supply that you trust. Well, let's assume that you are close to all kinds of sources of water. They just look yucky. They're either tubs that cows or sheep or livestock have drunk out of or are drinking out of, puddles in the road, restroom, toilets. Water's water. Water in the gutter. Water that's just, you're not sure. Water in a stagnant pond. Water along the Mississippi River. If you've ever seen that, you're going to go, right? But water's water. So what do? Fortunately, there's Life Straw. Life Straw by Vestergaard. You can look up on the net, and I'll put a link down below. Life Straw is a very simple tool that filters out all contaminants that you would normally worry about, except for chemicals and poisons and that kind of stuff. You put one end into the water that you're going to be drinking, and you suck out of this one. It's just that simple. And this works anywhere in the world, anytime, for any water source. There are some YouTube videos all about this device that that shows a guy drinking out of some really sources of water. And I have used it in some, and I won't tell you in this video, some real yuck pooey sources of water. And trust me, what comes out this end is really nice tasting stuff. It doesn't weigh anything. It can fit anywhere. You can take it anywhere in the world. You don't have to worry about TSA. You don't have to worry about traveling anywhere. If you don't have a bladder, all you need to know is, are you going to be close to any water source? And if you are, this goes in, this goes out, and life is good. Another thing you can do with this is that if you have like a water bottle and this would fit into the neck, you could just scoop it up and then stick this in and then suck from here. If you're out in a civilized place or you're traveling overseas, you can do the same thing. You can take the water in a glass or a cup, you can just put this in there and suck through it. Might look a little weird, but if you've ever had diarrhea or Montezuma's Revenge, you really appreciate having one. And just if you're asking, this little dude will filter 10,000 gallons before you throw it away. I mean, you could try to find another filter, but you'll be dead before you use 10,000 gallons through this thing. But what about needing to deal with water for cooking, or water to replenish your bladder? All this does is go out of the source into your mouth, into the tummy. So you need something that would purify the water and put it someplace else. So what would that be? Well, my favorite is the Katadyn pocket. Now what's good about this is that it has a ceramic filter. You don't have to go changing filters and finding them and all that. And this one lasts 50,000 gallons, which is a lot. This end has a tube that goes down into the source of the water. It has a little ball at the bottom that's kind of weighted. And this you pump, and as you pump here, the clean water goes into wherever you want to store it. This would typically be used to refill your liter bottles, refill your bladder, refill a cooking pot. So for 3 or 4 people, this will work really well. And again, it'll last forever. The ceramic filter inside, you don't change. You just take a little gauze cloth that comes with it and you just clean it off and then put it back in. This thing is with me all the time. So we've talked about going from a safe water location, carrying safe water with you and back. That would be the bladder inside your backpack or your bladder carrier, or water bottles that you're carrying on your body will work the same way. When it's time to replace safe water, you're out in your bladder, you're out in your bottles, and you still need water to get where you're going to get back to where you came from. And so now you need a secondary tool like this. This will work really well. You walk by a river, stream, whatever the source is, stick it in, suck it out, and you're ready to go. And you're on the go. You don't have to stop to do anything but drink. This one takes a little more. It takes about 3 minutes to fill up a pretty large bladder. So kind of like 1 minute per liter if you want to think of it that way. And then you're on the go. So you're not wasting a lot of time on the trail. Now, in some cases where you don't have a filter and you cannot boil the water where you are, you can get iodine tablets. These are not expensive, and it's a couple of tablets per quart. So you have to decide, how much you're going to carry. It takes about 30 minutes to make sure that these things have worked. And then, when you're done with this, a lot of people don't like that iodine taste, although it's not going to kill you. There is something called PA Plus, or Portable Aqua Plus, that removes that. But you have to wait until the other has happened, and then you put this in. So if you have a container, what you might do is go ahead and put the iodine tablets in, do whatever you're going to do, have your container, and start walking on the trail, or walking, or in the car, or whatever you're doing, to give time for the tablets to work. And then about 30 minutes, maybe an hour later, you have potable water. So it's not something that you would do in an instant emergency kind of thing, where there's heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and you need to get something into the person really fast. Now, the last source of water, of getting safe water, if you have no filters, you have no iodine tablets, you're pretty much forced then to boil the water. The assumption there is that you have energy sources to do that. If you are at home and the gas or electric, depending on what you use on your stove, is working, you just boil the water. If you are out and about, camping or bugging out because of some reason to leave the home, and you're going to be away for a ways, and you have a propane stove or some equivalent, some backpacking stoves run on butane or gas, white gas, then you can boil the water there. The amount depends on the size of the container that you can put on the burner. Now, one thing to just keep in mind, you boil the water. You don't boil the water for 20 minutes or 15 minutes. You heat it till it comes to a boil. Once it starts boiling, you're done. It's killed everything that you need to have killed in it. You don't have to sit there and let it percolate, and continue to boil. You heat it till it comes to a boil. The water, once it starts boiling, it's at the temperature. It's killed everything that you need to worry about. So save your fuel, take that water, filter it if you need to, or if you haven't already pre-filtered it, and then put it in the containers that you're going to use to carry or cook or wash or whatever. Now, if you're in a place where the only source of fuel is wood or biomass, my favorite for boiling water is the Kelly kettle. The Kelly kettle is based on the rocket stove technology, been around since forever. And all that means is that the flame is inside here. You have a fire pot, so you put the fire in there. The fuel goes in here, right? So you build a fire. Then the kettle goes on top. And when that happens, it creates a strong draft from the top, the rocket phenomenon, and with very little fuel, wood, biomass, anything that'll burn, you'll get a nice hot fire. Now, the water in the Kelly kettle goes in here. This is a double wall container, so the water is on the outside and the fire is on the inside. And this will heat about 1.5 liters, 20 ounces of water, which is more than enough for a few cups of coffee out and about. And it's very convenient. The fire starts in a matter of seconds if you have the right, you do the right kindling and you have the right fire starting skills. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. for a rocket stove. Nah, you know what I mean. So we've gone everywhere from you're at home and the water's safe to you have nothing and you now have to boil your water. You can boil it in a big pot. Just bring it to a boil. Once it boils, you're done Dano. Okay? So I'll put some links down below. I welcome your comments. I wasn't trying to give a scientific thing, but these are the options that you have to make sure that you have safe, drinkable water with you at all times. Enjoy. Carry on.